Hi, you probably have spotted that the Christmas decorations appear in the malls already in October. This time, the Mediadelcom podcast will follow the same pattern. First, the Christmas time is not so far away, and secondly, the entire Mediadelcom is closing in upon the final destination or the finish. Some publications will be going to be prepared and published after that, but the regular work of the EU Horizon 2020 project Mediadelcom will come to its scheduled end. This will be at the end of February, so it's close too. In the next 3 episodes, Mediadelcom country teams will make some kind of retrospect of the job done and the related emotions. Apparently, the countries at the top of our comparative rankings are therewhile quite critical towards their domestic situation regarding deliberative communication. The latter, deliberative communication, appears to be quite an unprecedented concept that will need few years to be explained to the general public and even to the academic community. We will now pick up the notes presented by the country teams of Mediadelcom. In this episode, we have the perspectives by 5 teams: Sweden, Slovakia, Hungary, Romania and Czechia. So, off we go. I'm Urmas Loit, the Mediadelcom communication officer.
Sweden!
We start with the teams of Sweden. I'm using plural because all the scholars come from different universities of Sweden. I have Peter Pereles, Lars Nord and Martots at the mic.
Now we are close to the finalization of Mediadelcom. My impressions of that is that it's very hectic, a lot of tasks which remain to be solved and done, a lot of articles that needs to be written. We have to focus on the policy aspect, how to communicate our results to policymakers. We need to build scenarios. But I can see the light in the tunnel somehow. It's hectic, but we have some good and interesting results from this project.
I think this is a fascinating project. You learn a lot from different areas. You have your own skills and knowledge, and you meet scholars from other countries that have slightly different specialities. And this exchange of views that you have during these years, I think that's quite fruitful, and it's a learning process also for us as academics to learn from each other. So that was a bit of a surprise, but a very good experience.
I think at this stage also I realize on a personal level that the kind of media system that we have in Sweden, where we take a lot of things for granted, it's very interesting to see how relevant this project is in relation to what's going on in different countries in Eastern Europe. So I think it makes this project and our work even more important.
I got an interesting question from a distinguished colleague yesterday evening, and she asked me, how do you feel about Sweden being on top of the list from all the results from the project? And I answered that I'm a bit concerned about that, because as a Swedish scholar you see the problems in your own media system, but maybe they are comparatively minor problems in relation to other countries, but we come into this with different perspectives, and this is, I think, is a learning process that I realize that I might see the problems in Sweden as too big because I don't compare them normally to what is happening in other countries. So that was an interesting perspective.
Slovakia.
The following team speaking comes from Slovakia. The pieces in this episode were all recorded in Bucharest, Romania in mid-October when Mediadelcom held its consortium meeting. At the same time, the results of parliamentary elections had just become known and made our Slovak colleagues worried. Lyudmila Chabiova and Andrei Brnik will talk.
In Slovakia, we had election last weekend, and Robert Fico won this election. Around 500,000 people wanted him to be a prime minister. I think the situation in Slovakia now is quite unclear because we know that he's pro-Russia oriented, and also he has a very good relationship with Orban from Hungary and bad relationship with journalists.
So we are now a little bit afraid about the situation in the media system, because he have a narrative that the medias in Slovakia are maybe more liberal as normal, and so we are afraid that maybe they will change the new media law that we have from last year. But I think we have a lot of democratic institutions as judgments or media, so maybe the situation will be not so complicated or so bad for us, but maybe now it seems like it's not really good time.
Now, weeks later, Robert Fico has become the prime minister, but at least his claims about not supporting Ukraine sound milder than before the elections. Returning to Mediadelcom, the other members of the team, Jan Wisnowski and Juliana Minarikova, address particularly the matter of Mediadelcom.
I am happy, or we both are happy, that we can be a member of such a great project as Mediadelcom is. It's really a huge project with great impact, and the topic of this project is very interesting.
I have to agree with my press speaker, Jan, because me, like a person who is teaching Slovak media system, are this information and experiences from this big and huge project very important, and I'm working with this information through my courses, so I'm disseminating this information now to my students and to my audience. For me, it's a special opportunity to meet people from several countries from Europe. It's for the first time that in my life that I'm part of this kind of great project, and I'm glad that I can be here.
Would there be any chance that this outcomes of the project would affect the media system in Slovakia somehow?
I think it depends on the dissemination of the results and the effectiveness of how we can deliver the results and the key findings to the target audience. But for me, I'm in a very good contact with the press agencies, with some television stations, with people working in radio and the newspapers or online portals. And it will be very important to present the results of the research in a very easy and understandable way. But I think it will be more difficult to do on the level of policymakers, for example, or another stakeholders. But I'm sure we try to do our best.
We found a new motivation for make basic or ground for another professional organization that will make some research in this area of things that are connected with ethical codes and law, then also with other things that we can be implemented in Slovak media system. So after this meeting and after ending of project, I hope that we can start a new wave of developing of media system in Slovakia, and it's really fruitful for us and for me especially.
The piece of Christmas music just podcasted, by the way, has its cultural roots beyond the state border of Slovakia, in neighboring Ukraine, where the Ukrainian warriors are battling to preserve the territorial integrity of the country. Hereby we shall address our regards to the Ukrainian people to overcome the brutality brought about by Russia.
Hungary.
Meanwhile, we shall present the next deliberation. Petra Šāvai and Agnes Urban open up the viewpoint of the Hungarian team.
I am really grateful to be part of the Mediadelcom project. From a personal point of view, I am just finishing my PhD, and it was a really great opportunity to be part of such an inspiring international research community. I learned a lot in the last 2.5 years, and I can use this knowledge in my PhD as well. And from a Hungarian perspective, I can tell that Mediadelcom gave really interesting facts and findings about the state of our media system. And of course, everybody knew that how bad is the situation in Hungary, but now we can state it on an empirically grounded basis. And the normative ideals, what Mediadelcom gives us, and also the countries who are following these ideals, can serve as some kind of guiding light to Hungary and to everybody who wants to understand what's happening with our country, with our media system, and with the journalism in our country.
Actually, for our NGO, Medtech Media Monitor in Hungary, it was practically our first major Horizon project in our history, and it was absolutely important to become the member of this scientific network, and it was very useful. And we got a lot of possibilities for knowledge sharing, publishing, and I can say it was really important for us.
Romania.
Ioana Avadani is representing the Romanian team, which hosted the Mediadelcom consortium during the recent meeting in Bucharest.
For the Romanian team, it was a travel, a very interesting and illuminating travel. It was an uphill travel also. It was a very rich learning experience for us. We have been exposed to concept making. It's actually very exciting to see how new concepts are created by people putting their brains together for the greater good. It was also very fun, because we discovered a lot of very interesting people, and we were able to share our living experience in 14 countries. It's very interesting to see those discussions, like in our parts this and this happened. No, in our parts it's different, or it's something else. So it was rich on very many levels, intellectually, of course, and also at human level, because we learned about each other.
Any outcome that could surprise you?
The scenarios are very surprising, because in some parts they were counterintuitive. And this was also very exhilarating, because you don't do research in order to confirm your expectations. It's very interesting and very rewarding to see that the data show you something that you didn't know. And it was surprising to see how countries that have apparently no similarities, like for example Romania and Estonia, are actually sharing the same type of situations, even if they come on different paths.
Czechia.
And for this episode, the last but not least, the Czech team. Lenka Vašková-Čižařová and Iveta Jansová.
At the beginning, I thought that we will just collect the data, not gather any data, and it will be like nice and easy and smooth, but it wasn't the case, as usual. So it was really painful and long, but it was worth it. We had to dig really deep into the existing data, and the outcome is that sometimes I was really surprised from the variety and colorfulness of the data we already had, and on the other hand I was sad because we had these research gaps and we have to fill them out in the future.
But to be able to find these research gaps is moving us forward in the research, because we can now say, okay, we have these gaps, but let's fill them and let's do some policies, let's do more research, because these particular parts of the research of the field are actually missing or are underrepresented, which is a problem and which could be a big risk for the development of the field itself. So now that we are smarter because of this research, we can actually make it better as a whole in our country, but also across all of these countries, because what we learned in this project is that it is very important to participate among the countries, not only these blocks of these constructs of Western and Eastern Europe and Central Europe, but really across the whole spectrum.
These were the first 5 reflections, deliberations if I may, of the country teams upon our Mediadelcom project, which is going up to its finish. We shall continue with these retrospectives in few weeks. All other 45 podcast episodes are also at your disposal. Mediadelcom.eu. Please stay tuned.